Hi everyone, this is BritSimon. Let's talk about updating and unlocking the DS260. Okay then, let's talk about updating the DS260. Can you update your DS260? Yes, you should do actually. After submission of the DS260, the system shows the DS260 form as completed. When you sign into SEAC in the place where you fill out the DS260, at the very beginning it shows the completed status. If, however, you want to make some changes, you'll notice you won't be able to make changes to a completed form because it's locked for editing. You can, while it's unlocked, you can review the information you've entered. You can navigate through the form and click from page to page, as it were, but you can't change anything. Now let me just say the DS260 is essential to the success of your case. It's very important that the DS260 is an accurate record of your application. Ultimately, it's the official document that you're making an application to the US government for immigration for yourself. Okay, so how do you unlock? So if you need to change or correct anything, you need to email KCC to ask them to unlock your DS260. There's no limit to how many times you can unlock, but the interviewing CEO will be able to tell that you made revisions. I believe they can actually see the before and after status of the DS260. But frankly, that shouldn't worry you. That's not really a question that you should worry about, right? KCC cannot unlock your DS260 after you have been scheduled for an interview. Only the embassy can unlock at that point. That's very important because I've seen some people that did not want to delay their case in any way, so they didn't unlock. Then they wait for the scheduling, and that, frankly, is a very stupid thing to do. It's the wrong thing to do. It's much better to make the changes as early as possible into the DS260. So let me explain about that. To unlock your DS260, I'll provide some of this information in the description below, but the email address for KCC is this email address here, kccdv@state.gov. You have that email address in your original 1NL. You don't need to provide a reason for the unlock unless they ask you, and they will sometimes ask, but generally speaking, you simply email them, ask to unlock, and within 2 days to a couple of weeks, they'll unlock your case. It varies on the timeline depending on when in the month you ask them to do that. Your email should be roughly this sort of format. The email subject should be an unlock request. You can put your case number in the email subject if you want. But certainly in the email body, you need to have your first name, middle name, last name. In other words, your full name, your full case number, including the leading zeros, okay, and your date of birth in this format. This is month/day/year. Okay, this isn't the European format, which it would be the 23rd. This is the 23rd of October. But in Europe, they tend to do 23/10/1981. But do it in this format, month, day, year. Okay, and then you quite simply say, please, dear sir, madam, please unlock my DS form as I'd like to make some revisions. That's all you need to say. Okay, then you wait patiently for a couple of days, maybe as long as 2 weeks if you email them at the wrong time of the month. Okay, the KCC will unlock the principal selectee's case if you send this email, but if you need to unlock a derivative, you need to make that clear to them. So you could have the same information here, but in the body of your email, you would say, please unlock the DS260 form of my spouse, or my child, whoever you're trying to unlock, and then give their full name, first name, middle name, last name, as I'd like to make some revisions. If you need to unlock all the forms, then make that clear. My point is you have to be very specific of which form you're trying to unlock, and you always give the principal selectee's case number here, the principal selectee's identification information. Okay. You can send this email, by the way, from any email address. It doesn't have to be the email address that you applied with in the first place or that you filled out the DS260. Indeed, I've actually unlocked people's cases for them on their behalf from my email address in the past. So it's not important which email address you send from, as long as this information is accurate in the email. Okay. Okay, so then the next question people always ask me is, does unlocking cause delays? Well, firstly, I want to say this. Delay is much better than denial. Okay? Say that to yourself 5 times, please. It's even if delay is what's going to happen after you unlock the case, isn't it better to be delayed by a month or so rather than being denied? It's absolutely idiotic to attend the interview with a form that you know is inaccurate because you didn't want to spend an extra month waiting for your interview. So please consider this point. Delay is better than denial. And second, if your case is not going to be current for several months anyway, there is no concern about delay. The only delay could come is if you were relatively soon going to be scheduled for an interview and now you choose to unlock, and possibly that might cause some sort of delay. But I'm going to explain the type of changes that could cause a delay and the types that shouldn't cause any delay. So only some changes can cause delay, and most changes that you would make in the DS260 would not cause delay. So for example, a simple change of address for the USA address, the address that you're giving in the USA, or your work history address. Perhaps you notice that the address you've given for work history was a little bit wrong and you're trying to correct that. There's no delay for those sort of minor corrections. Adding a newborn child will have no delay on your case. So why wouldn't you do that? If you've had a child, the most important thing is to add that child simply to the case prior to the interview and prior to even scheduling of the interview. So just add the child. Adding a spouse. Now, adding a spouse could have some delay. The spouse is an adult and therefore is going to need some background checks. So there could be a short delay while those background checks are made. But again, that's only if your case is going to be current in the very next few weeks. Other than that, there's probably going to be no delay. Adding significant travel history, a new country, for example, possibly some delay for that. So, for example, if you now tell KCC that you have traveled extensively through the Middle East, through countries which, for example, have a history of terrorist connections, then yes, that could cause some delay. But isn't it better to have some delay rather than them finding out that you've traveled in those countries and you didn't tell them? So delay is better than denial in that case. And so correcting a name or a birth date possibly might have some delay to your case as well. Remember, it's absolutely essential that you correct that sort of information as early as possible. If you had, for example, entered in the DV lottery entry and you entered your birth date wrong, or you have a minor change in your name, it's very important that the DS260 has the accurate legal name, the accurate birth date, etc. That information needs to be accurate, and if necessary, use the other names field, the other names used field, to list other names or other versions of the name. So please make sure you make those changes as soon as possible. So really, the overriding thing is make the changes to your form as soon as you realize the form needs to be corrected. Don't be concerned about the delay. The earlier you do this, the better, the more likely your case will not be delayed. And please don't even concern yourself with delay if the alternative is denial because you entered the wrong information. Now, let me give you a couple of words of caution here. Towards the end of the year, the processing requests to unlock should only be if essential. Okay, I don't want you in the last month or so of the processing. So, for example, in late June or any time in July, I don't want you to be asking for unlock if you need to be scheduled before September before the end of September that year. The reason for that is that the chance of you asking for an unlock and that causing some sort of delay could, in that case, cause complete termination of your case. They may not be able to schedule you at all in September. So it's very impactful. So for goodness sake, please think about your DS260 accuracy earlier in the year before it gets to the point where it's too late to unlock. Okay, there is a chance that even by requesting and without KCC unlocking, you could raise difficulties with your case. What do I mean about that? Well, just the other day, there was a case which I'll show you here, where this gentleman had asked KCC after so let me just run through this. He was ready for scheduling on the 8th of July. This is in 2019. The 8th of July 2019, he was told he was ready for scheduling. He then realized that his birth certificate that he had presented as a document was the only birth certificate that he had, and that he'd actually been registered in 2 different countries. So he has 2 different birth certificates from 2 different countries, basically both about him. There's no question that there was any sort of underhand activity going on here. It just happened to be that he didn't even know. He had his parents had registered him in his Asian country of birth as well as the other country. Okay, so he was unaware. Every ID he had only ever showed the one current name. So he then asked KCC on July 16th to unlock his form. They replied that they would not unlock his form because it was too late to unlock, and they were probably in the middle of scheduling his interview at that point. And as he says here, horrifically, what's worse and a little unexpected, further processing would also be stopped and no interview would be scheduled as a result. So what does that mean? What happened there? That's pretty awful. So what happened was, and this is my explanation to the gentleman, he asked to unlock, but they did not unlock. The unlocking itself didn't cause any problem, but by explaining to KCC that the documents he'd provided and the background check that had earlier been completed were undermined by the changes he was now telling them about, that he had this alternative set of documents for a different birth certificate, etc. KCC cannot now forward the case to an embassy for an interview. Because their role is never to deny any case, but they are responsible to make sure that when the case is passed to the embassy, that the embassy has the completed background check which is performed before the documents are asked for, and then also the documents that match the case that has been put forward. Both of those things were undermined by this gentleman's actions, and although he's kind of okay with this. I mean, he kind of feels okay about the whole thing. That did destroy this gentleman's case. He's not going to get a green card. And so what would have made a difference there is if he had found that information earlier, perhaps in June or in May. If he'd have found that information earlier and corrected in May or June, he would have been fine. But because he did that in the middle of July, he can't get his green card. Awful result. Anyway, so that's my word of caution to you. Be careful about the timing, and please make sure you're not ruining your own case for the sake of bad timing. I hope that explains about unlocking in general and making changes. I hope that's useful to everybody. If you'd like more information of this nature in my frequently asked questions or in any of the videos that I make, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like this video, click on the like button, and comment. By all means, let me know any thoughts you have. The interaction's fun for me and helps the channel. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Bye bye now.